come in. What do you get when you have a Belgian, a Spaniard, an Austrian, and an Englishman in the room? You get a symposium on hypnotherapy and advances, clinical advances. It is my pleasure and privilege to be able to share. I'll introduce myself later. And so that we don't delay proceedings, first may I introduce Daniel Ledoux, who is a Belgian psychotherapist. He's already taught at this conference, a symposium on how to deal with resistant patients, the methodology of chance-using hypnosis. The topic today is a biological sense of psychological and somatic symptoms, a new paradigm emerging. Daniel.
Okay, thank you very much to give me the opportunity, in fact, to explain this specific model, which can be a little bit different how you are thinking. So here, in fact, 2 days ago in the morning, I gave these lectures. And this lecture is a methodology of change, okay? And I show this result. In fact, it's 400 patients. The average here is 2 standard deviation. And these 400 patients are essentially, more than 95%, are what I call, they have made what I call the path of fighters. What does that mean? That means that they have visited a certain number of psychoanalysts, psychologists, and blah, 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 for 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years, or even 20 years. And at the end, they are still more or less with the same problem. It has been improved a little bit, but okay. So I am interested by these people who seems to be blocked, what we call resistant, resistant patients, okay? And so that here you see the number of what we call inner journey explained here. I don't explain again what I during this lecture, and this poster will be during the break, the coffee break, in fact. And so if you have any question, I can explain you. Okay. But what is interesting, in fact, here with this population, which is called resistant patients, they can get rid of the symptom or CD, migraine, alcohol, pain, idiopathic in this case, with 3 or 10 inner journey. For the other one is a little bit more complicated, okay, and for the third group, even more, okay? Well, I'm speaking about to get rid of, all right? Well, and one reason why I think I have such kind of reason, one of these reasons, is because I use this specific model that I would like to explain you. That means behind each clinical symptoms in this model, there is a biological sense. So the sense of the biological symptoms, okay? And there are some pioneers. Of course, if we have a look on the Chinese medicines, we know that they are making some links, but they are different in the past, etc. We have only made the link between some symptoms and a certain kind of sense. But here we are going to see that it's more deeper, and especially with our knowledge, today knowledge, the clinical knowledge that we have about physiopathology, etc. And especially the pioneers here is Dr. Gerd Hammer. He's a German specialist. He died last year. It's pity because it was the guy who made the link between specific events that arrive in the life of the of the people, of the patients, okay, and clinical symptoms. And in fact, he had a cancer, prostate cancer, and it has been the beginning. In fact, I'm thinking, why me? I'm doing sport, natural food, and blah blah blah, and I have a cancer. So it's not possible. It's not about that. He had a cancer. Okay, so he started to think, and because he was a pathologist, okay, so you had the patient and start to discuss with the patient and you arrive to a conclusion. But here is a summary, because I have 20 minutes. I have not too much time. There are other people, and in France, you know, perhaps Dr. Olivier Soulier, located in Lille, in the north of France. We have also, perhaps you have heard about Dr. Claude Sabat, who have ACV, so it's out now. And in Belgium, we have Dr. Edouard van de Bogac. Okay, and Edouard has been published, in fact, a dictionary. That means it's a compilation of, there are, I think, 12 or 15 different authors, and they put together the biological sense of the main diseases that psychotherapists or main disease that we met, in fact, in our session. So it's in French here. Alors, this is the second edition. This is the third one. I translate because it's in French. Dictionary of Biological Code of Disease. So it's a very big dictionary, which is very helpful for people like me who are using this model, of course. Okay, and so it's a tools for psychotherapists. And so what I did also is I wrote an e-books. You can find on Amazon, in fact, and to explain this model to lambda people. So it's not for specialists like you or doctors, etc. It's for my patients, in fact, so they can have something to read behind my speech, in fact. And I take the story, you know, they read the red dress when you write a book, in fact. And I took this example, it's a pedagogic example, okay? The story of John. And John happened, and I analyzed, in fact, the 4 different levels. So the first one is the event. That means something happens in his life. I call the traumatic event. In this case, he has been fired. Suddenly, you know, some people have been fired like this. They arrive in the morning and 10 minutes after, out of the company. It has been my case, in fact, so I know a little bit. Okay, anyway. The second level is the psychic level, the thought and emotion. What is happening in his brain? Okay, is anger, of course. Well, the stupid people, stupid company, it's crazy. I worked for 20 years for them, and now I've been fired like that. It's incredible. He's feeling, in fact, what he has in his mind. The unconscious level. So here we are at the symbolic level. Okay? So, and it's very important, in fact, to listen to the patient, because the words and verbs that they are using is an expression of the unconscious. It's very important. And for example, he can tell, I cannot digest what they did to me. And we have also this expression in French, je ne peux pas digérer ce qu'ils m'ont fait, ou ça me reste sur l'estomac. Okay? It remains in my stomach. Come on, guys. In his stomach, there is nothing. It looks like that there is something. We are at the symbolic level. And the other, the last level is, there is in this example, pedagogic example, there is a somatization. That means it's a mass of tumor cells, so it's a stomach cancer. And so, during this, and you see that there is a certain number of chapters, okay, and analyze what happens in life, in his thoughts, at the symbolic level, and at the somatic level, because at the practical point of view, there are some tumor cells. Huh? Yeah. Okay, and it's possible to see, in fact, with endoscopy. All right. And I don't have enough time, but for each pathology, for each clinical symptom, there is a kinetics of a disease. And so here you have what I call agitation and rest. That means the autonomous nervous system. This is the sympathetic level, and the ortho, the vagotonic or the parasympathetic level, okay? And so you know that there is a balance between these two, ortho, para, or sympathetic and bigotomy, all right? And so there is a specific kinetics which has been discovered, in fact, by Dr. Ahmed. Well, I don't have time to explain, but it's explained in the book, in fact, here. But some cancer arrive at the conflictual phase, and some other during the post-conflictual phase. And it's linked with the embryology. Endodermic, ectodermic, and mesodermic. And I wrote, in fact, a second book. You see that the first one was Cancer Part 1, and the second one is Cancer Part 2. And I took a certain number of cancer examples to explain. And I took, generally speaking, 2 patients that I had and explained what is happening in his life, etc. Okay? To illustrate, in fact, this model. You'll see that here, and it's in connection with endodermic layer, I think it's called like that in embryology. It's endodermic layer, the ectodermic layer, and mesodermic, we can call, there are 2 parts, ancient and new one. I don't enter in many details here. I also included osteoporosis. Why there are about 30% of women who are developing osteoporosis and not the other ones. Okay, when we have a look on the sense, the biological sense, in fact, okay, we can explain why some women are developing osteoporosis and not others. And I include also myocardial infarctus, it's not a cancer, it's in that one. But I include that because I have a certain number of patients, so I include it in the same time, in fact, in the book, because it's for my patients, so okay, for the practical aspect, in fact, here. And again, here it's for the lambda people, because here there is the dictionary, which explains in more detail, of course, the different biological sense, because we can have different sense depending on the patients, what they lived in their life, etc. So this new paradigm there are some events, external variable, traumatic events. For example, this guy is fine. I have been fine. Oh, God, it's incredible. Oh, I can accept that. Okay, after so long time, work for them. This is the trauma. The brain now has 2 solutions. Either this guy, in my example, find a solution. For example, after 1 month, if he finds a new job, he signs for a new position with higher salary, more responsibility, etc., etc. So now he has a solution. And you know, the other company who had fired him, you understand what I mean? Now, what is important for him is new job. So his brain now is focused on this new responsibility. Oh, where is my new colleague? They are very friendly, etc. So he's very enthusiastic concerning his new position. So now, for the brain, okay, he finds a solution. But if not, if he doesn't find a solution, so he ruminates, this company fired me, this guy, this boss, these colleagues, etc., etc. It's a view that now somebody has to find a solution. And so in this model, this is the unconscious who is going to have a look in his own library, because we have a library in our unconscious part of our brain. And he, this is the solution. Took the cassette, and there is a somatization And it's a tumor cell, because at the practical point of view, it has really tumor cells. It remains 5 minutes. Okay, too long. Time is fast, it's incredible. I go ahead. So, and so what? So I explain, in fact, to the patient, you know that you have some specific symptom, it's because you live this and that, etc. And what? You know what I can do after that. He knows why he gets, in fact, this specific disease. The biological sense, yes. And after, what to do? And here is this methodology, in fact, which is an activation of the unconscious of the patient to deprogram the neurological circuit in charge of the cancer, stomach cancer in my example, pedagogic example, all right? And to reprogram a new neurological circuits. So I explain here the model of engramming. It's a model which I find very interesting. In this model there are 2 variables. The first one, well, here is lifetime. Psychotherapy act 9 months, the life, present time, and the future. And in this model, the 2 variables are, first one, earlier the trauma has been settled, and higher the emotional charge is. So, earlier the trauma settled and plus the emotional charge is high, more it has been engrammed, in fact, in the brain. And more difficult it will be to deprogram. And you can explain, you know, that there are about 200 different techniques in psychotherapy, etc. And we can classify, we can rank, in fact, these techniques, these tools, with this model. For example, PNL, okay, can heal, bracket, different things. But if the patient is more engrammed, PNL is not work. Transaction analysis also, for symptoms it's fine, for the other one it doesn't work. So you can explain that the resistant patients are patients where the trauma and emotional charge has been pretty high. That means it's engrammed. Sometimes we are speaking about imprinting. It's more imprinting inside the brain, in fact. It's more difficult to deprogram. I found this model pretty interesting. And so what I am interested in fact, here you have the past life, the past of life, okay, and some patients, some people are moving along, they laugh and it's fine. But there are some patients who are remaining on the border and what we call the resistant patients. And I'm interested by this patient to help them to come back on the path, in fact, and to move forwards. So the methodology of change has been developed for them, in fact. Okay, so in conclusions, okay, last slide. So in this model, it's a model, any cancer, any disease, any clinical signs, even a minor, okay, is a biological solution selected by the unconscious part of the patient's brain, because the patient has not been able to find a specific solution to the traumatic events he lived. In other words, that means the patient has not been able to letting go. The letting go, in French is le lâcher prise. Comment lâcher prise? How to do the letting go. It's the most complicated things. In fact, your patient says, yeah, I'm applying to letting go, I'm applying, but it's not possible. It's ruminated in mind. What's it? Okay. To these traumatic events who lived. So any clinical symptom is a lack of letting go in the patient's life. So there is a biological sense for each clinical symptom. And I explain that to my patient, only people who are interested in, to understand that why did I catch, in fact, this specific disease. It can be a cancer, it can be, we discussed about fibromyalgia, for example, in the morning. It can be multiple sclerosis or That's a job. And it's what I'm doing, in fact, is my patient. And it's really very interesting, in fact, for them. It changed their mind because there are few therapists who are using this model. Well, it's moving, it's developing, in fact, I know in Belgium, in France, in Germany, in Italy and Spain, because I know different trainers who are developing this model. The other country, UK, I don't know. In USA, in Canada, I know that there are 7 who are using, okay? And so I think it's my website, and thank you very much. So I think I am on time.
You're perfectly on time.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you very much.
To get our timings right, there'll be 10 minutes at the end for questions to each and any one of us. I'm taking the stage now. I'm Mike Chapek, or Michael Chapek. I'm a family physician in Manchester, in England. If there's a theme going through this symposium,